2. The moment Zylo stepped out of his cabin, he knew something was terribly wrong. He was an alien. You see, a friendly green one with two big, curious eyes, and he'd grown to love the sounds of his new home in the forest. The most beautiful sound of all was usually the Maplebrook River. Shit was always singing, a loud, happy song filled with splashes, gurgles, and bubbling giggles. But today, there was only silence. Not a single splash, not even a whisper. A heavy, unsettling quiet hung in the air. Zylo's antennae drooped. Rivers, he knew, don't just go silent for no reason. Just then, his friend Mira arrived, holding a snack pouch. "Zylo, what's wrong?" she asked, tilting her head. "Yeah, you look like you found weeds in your cereal." "The river's quiet," Zylo said, his voice low. "It never goes quiet." Mira stopped chewing and listened intently. Her cheerful expression faded. "Okay, yeah. That's creepy." Without another word, they set off together, heading downstream to find out what was wrong. As they walked along the riverbank, the change was even more noticeable. The water, which usually danced and sparkled in the sunlight, was dull and lifeless. It moved slowly, sluggishly, as if it were too tired to even try. It looked unhappy. "This isn't right," Zylo murmured, touching the water with his three-fingered hand. It felt cold and listless. "The river feels sad." "Sad?" Mira repeated, looking at the gloomy water. "Can a river be sad, Nachar?" "Feels things," Zylo explained, his big eyes serious. "The trees, the wind, the water. They all have feelings. And this river is clearly upset about something." They continued on, the silence of the forest pressing in around them. Soon, they rounded a bend and saw the source of the problem. The river had pooled into a thick, muddy puddle. A dam of tangled branches and leaves had blocked the flow. And wedged right in the middle was something small and round, trembling nervously. Mira squinted, trying to get a better look. "Is that?" "A bubble with fins." Zylo nodded gravely. "It's an aquapuff, a little water spirit." As they got closer, they heard a tiny, muffled sob. Too. The little creature sniffled loudly, its whole body quivering. "I'm stuck," it cried. "I didn't mean to stop the river. I was just playing hide and splash, and then all the branches fell, and now everything's ruined." Tears that looked like tiny dewdrops rolled down its shimmering sides. Mira's heart sobbed him. She crouched down by the edge of the muddy pool. "It's okay," she said in a gentle voice. "Everybody gets stuck sometimes. It doesn't mean everything is ruined." But the little aquapuff just whimpered, its voice filled with despair. "But the river's quiet because of me. I made its song go away." Zylo knelt beside Mira and gently placed his hand in the murky water. He looked at the distressed little creature with kindness. "The river isn't blaming you," he said softly. "When you're scared and stuck, the river feels it too. You and the river are connected. Its sadness is a reflection of your own." The aquapuff blinked its watery eyes, looking from Zylo to Mira. "So, if I get unstuck, the river might sing again?" it asked, a tiny spark of hope in its voice. Zylo's face broke into a warm, encouraging smile. "Let's find out." Walking together, he and Mira carefully began to pull away the branches and leaves that were trapping the little creature. It was mucky work, but they were determined. They tugged at a thick log, cleared away a bundle of sticks, and finally made a small opening. With one slippery, determined wiggle, the aquapuff popped free. It zoomed out of the muddy trap and into the clear water just beyond the blockage. Instantly, something in the river changed. It was a subtle shift at first, like a quiet shiver running through the water. Then, it began to ripple, small waves lapping at the shore. 2. And then, a soft, slow hum started to rise from beneath the surface, the very beginning of its song. Faint but beautiful, returning after its long silence. Myra grinned, wiping a smudge of mud from her cheek. "It's working!" she whispered excitedly. The aquapuff did a happy little twirl in the water, its fins fluttering. "I feel better," it chirped. "And the river feels better too." As it. In response, the current picked up. The water began to flow faster and faster, washing away the mud and debris. The river's surface started to sparkle again, catching the sunlight as it began to wake up from its sad, heavy nap. The blockage was clearing, and the water was running free. But then, the aquapuff's happy twirls slowed. It floated over to them, its voice quiet again. "But what if I get stuck again?" it asked, a flicker of worry in its eyes. Mira gave it a reassuring smile. "Then you ask for help," she said simply. "Nobody should have to stay stuck all by themselves." Zylo nodded in agreement, watching the water flow freely. "Mistakes aren't disasters," he added. "They're just part of learning and growing." Oh, and big, scary feelings are always easier to handle when you share them with someone who cares. Just as he finished speaking, the river's full song finally burst forth. It was a cheerful, bubbly melody, echoing through the trees, even louder and more joyful than before. It was the sound of happiness, of freedom, of being unstuck. The aquapuff bobbed gratefully in the sparkling current. "Thank you for helping me," it called out, its voice bright and clear. Zylo patted the surface of the water, feeling its happy energy. "Anytime," he said. "Rivers and creatures always flow best when they aren't trying to do everything alone." As Zylo and Mira headed for home, the river's joyful music followed them. A happy soundtrack for their walk back through the woods. They had not only helped a friend, but they had also helped the whole forest find its voice again. And they learned that no matter how stuck you feel, help is always there, and even the quietest song can return, louder and more beautiful than ever. Thanks for watching. Remember to share this story with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe for more adventures.